Hey everyone, and welcome back to our Humanizing HR series. Today, we are tackling a really big and powerful idea, one that's absolutely critical for any organization that wants to thrive in this fast-changing world we live in, the learning organization. My name is Mohammed Ajalouni, and I'm excited to be your guide as we explore how to build workplaces that don't just perform well, but that also continuously grow and adapt. All right, let's jump right in. So, before we dive deep into today's topic, it's really important to see how it connects to everything we've already built in this series. All the previous concepts kind of lead up to this moment. So let's do a quick recap, shall we? You'll remember, we started this whole journey by questioning the name human resources itself, and we talked about shifting to a more human-focused people's department. From there, we established that the absolute first step to building a great team is recruiting smart learners. People with that built-in curiosity and the capacity to grow. Then we built on that. We designed a system that links salary to a technical grading system, which creates these clear career paths that don't force your best technical experts to become managers just to get a promotion. And we wrapped up by talking about how you can intentionally develop your next generation of leaders from right inside the company. Now, with all those building blocks in place, we are ready to move on to the next essential piece of humanizing the workplace: training, development, and this really powerful idea of the learning organization. So, what exactly is a learning organization? What does that really mean? Well, the term isn't new. It was actually introduced by Peter Senge way back in 1990 in his groundbreaking book, The Fifth Discipline. Senge defined it as a place where people are constantly expanding what they're capable of, where they're nurturing new ways of thinking, and, crucially, where they're learning how to learn together. You see, it's a dynamic, living process, not some static goal you check off a list. So here's the most important point. In a true learning organization, learning isn't a once-a-year training event that everyone dreads. No way. It's woven right into the fabric of the company culture. It becomes part of the daily work. And, this idea has become more relevant today than ever before. Why? Well, it all comes down to the absolutely relentless pace of change happening in our world. Just think about it for a second. New technologies are disrupting entire industries. Markets are shifting faster than we can keep up with. The reality is pretty simple and kind of stark. Organizations that can't learn and adapt quickly enough are inevitably going to be left behind. And this illustrates the core challenge perfectly. The speed of learning inside an organization has to match, or even better, exceed the speed of change happening outside in the environment. If there's a gap, you're not just standing still, you're actually falling behind. And that brings us full circle, right back to the principles we talked about at the start. You see, they aren't just separate good ideas. They're the foundational pillars of a system that is built from the ground up for growth and learning. Let's really connect the dots here. When you deliberately recruit smart learners, you fill your organization with people who are already wired to grow. Then, when you link their career progression to acquiring new skills, you make development a requirement for advancement. And finally, when you grow leaders from within, you ensure they value and champion this culture of continuous improvement. So what's the result of a system like this? Learning stops being some line item on a budget or an optional extra. It completely transforms into a natural core expectation for absolutely everyone in the organization, every single day. Okay, so that's the why. It all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually put this into practice? How do we make it real? Let's move on to the blueprint. In the system we've been describing, career progression is tied to new skills. This means every single employee has ongoing development needs, which gives your training and development function a crystal clear roadmap for what people need to learn and when they need to learn it. Now, to make this work, the organization has to do its homework. You've got to define those technical grades for each job family. You have to clearly identify the knowledge, skills, and competencies needed for every single level. And only then can you build the right pathways to help people get there. And this development isn't just about traditional classroom training. It can take so many forms. Workshops, for sure, but also mentoring, coaching, and what is often the most powerful form of development there is, learning right there on the job. Now, here is a really critical point. This can't be a set-it-and-forget-it system. It is just as important to continuously review and update these competencies. As technology evolves and the market shifts, so do the skills that define success. And that right there is the key takeaway. learning becomes a dynamic and continuous process. It is absolutely not a static, one-and-done training plan that you create at the beginning of the year and just hope for the best. So, we have the structural system in place. But there's one more element that really acts as the engine for all of this learning, the thing that turns the entire organization into a true hub of growth. And that engine is continuous improvement. By empowering people to analyze their own processes, to solve problems, and to make things better, you transform their day-to-day work into a powerful learning laboratory where real, meaningful growth happens. And this brings us to the fundamental truth of this entire series. A truly humanized organization is a learning organization. It invests in its people's growth, it fuels their curiosity, and it enables everyone to develop their full potential. Because when people grow, organizations grow with them. It's as simple as that. We will definitely explore the topic of continuous improvement in a lot more detail in a future explainer. But for now, I want to leave you with a question to think about. In your own role right now, how can your everyday work become a powerful learning laboratory? Thanks so much for joining me.